Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled Tinder and the Dawn of the Dating Apocalypse. As romance gets swiped from the screen, some 20-somethings aren't liking what they see. And a big shout out to Keith for sending me this article. And guys, what we have here is this whole article, and this is long, but it's really good and really nails it in terms of how things are today in the dating world, thanks to apps like Tinder and all that, and the impact it's had. And it goes into this whole thing. It's almost like some serious investigative journalism going on here with the 20-something crowd in New York City, finding out basically the impact of Tinder and all that. And truly, you're going to see how revealing this is, how it really has changed things. And this article is a few years old. So you're going to see how things were back then, and now we obviously know how things are today. And without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to see, guys, at the end of this article, two main things are going to be abundantly clear. Number one, that if a guy plays his cards right, he has it made. Okay? Absolutely. Has his made. And number two, essentially, long-term relationships are gone. Okay? I've been saying for a long time, marriage, as we've known it in the past, is dead. And you all know why about that. I don't have to elaborate that. But also, long-term relationships are going bye-bye as well, thanks to things like this. And in the title, it talked about how some 20-somethings aren't liking this. Well, guess who isn't liking it? The women. But who also is equal in how things are today in the whole dating world because of things like Tinder and all that? Women. But I'm going to go through this, guys, and this is long, so I'm just going to jump right into it now, and I'll add my opinions and comments along the way, but you're going to see this is really nails how things are in today's world, because this is articles like 2015, 2016. So it starts off, it's a balmy night in Manhattan's financial district, and at a sports bar called Stout, everyone is Tindering. The tables are filled with young women and men who've been chasing money and deals on Wall Street all day, and now they're looking for hookups. Everyone is drinking, peering into their screens, and swiping on their faces of strangers they may have sex with later that evening. Or not. Ew, this guy is a dad bod, a young woman says of a potential match swiping left. Her friends smirk, not looking up. Tinder sucks, they say, but they don't stop swiping. Well, of course not. No young gal is going to ever give up that free attention and validation. At a booth in the back, three handsome 20-something guys in button-downs are having beers. They are Dan, Alex, and Marty, budding investment bankers at the same financial firm which recruited Alex and Marty straight from an Ivy League campus. He says the names have been changed to protect basically the innocent. When asked if they've been arranging dates on the apps they've been swiping at, all say not one date, but two or three. You can't be stuck in one lane. There's always something better. If you had a reservation somewhere and then a table that per se opened up, you'd want to go there, Alex offers. Translation, they're hooking up with multiple women at once. Says guys view everything as a competition. He elaborates with his deep, reassuring voice. Who slept with the best, hottest girls? With these dating apps, he says, you're always sort of prowling. You could talk to 2 or 3 girls at a bar and pick the best one. Or you can swipe a couple hundred people per day. The sample size is so much larger. It's setting up 2 or 3 Tinder dates a week, and chances are sleeping with all of them. So you can rack up 100 girls you slept with in a year. Does this start to sound like the world we're in today? He says that he himself has slept with 5 different women he met on Tinder, Tinderellas, the guys call them, in the last 8 days. Dan and Marty, also Alex's roommates in a shiny, high-rise apartment building near Wall Street, can vouch for that. In fact, they can remember whom Alex has slept with in the past week more readily than he can. And you're going to see this gang of friends, the guy Alex they refer to obviously as the leader of the pack. Brittany, Morgan, Amber, Marty says, counting on his fingers. Oh, and the Russian and Ukrainian? Ukrainian, Alex confirms, she works at, he says the name of a high-end art auction house. Asked what these women are like, he shrugs. I could offer a resume, but that's about it. Works at J. Crew, senior at Parsons, junior at Pace, works in finance. We don't know what the girls are like, Marty says, and they don't know us, says Alex. And yet, a lack of intimate knowledge of his potential partners never presents him with an obstacle to physical intimacy. Alex says his friends agree, is a Tinder king, and a young man of such deft text game that the ability to actually convince someone to do something over text. Marty explains that he is able to entice young women into his bed on the basis of a few text exchanges while letting them know up front he is not interested in having a relationship. The modern dating scene, guys. Now, yes, not all guys are going to have this much luck and be this smooth and so forth. These guys are obviously, they work on Wall Street, they got money, they got the position, they got the status. I'm sure they're not ugly either, but the point is, guys, those of you that want to do dating and pickup and not relationship, but dating and pickup, you can have it made if you want to. You play your cards right, you take care of yourself, you get yourself in a good position, but the options are limitless. And as you're going to see more and more, guys have it made if they want to. And again, like I said in the beginning, the long-term relationships, bye-bye. They say, how does he do it? Marty asks, blinking. This guy's got a talent. But Marty, who prefers Hinge to Tinder, is no slouch at racking up girls. He says he slept with 30 to 40 women in the last year. I sort of play that I could be a boyfriend kind of guy in order to win them over. But then they start wanting me to care more, and I just don't. Dude, that's not cool. Alex chides in his warm way. I always make a point of disclosing I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want to hang out, friends, and see what happens. If I were ever in a court of law, I could point to the transcript. But something about the whole scenario seems to bother him. Despite all his mild-mannered bravado, I think it's to an extent like sinister, he says. Because I know that the average girl will think that there's a chance that she can turn the tables. If I were like, hey, I just want to hook up, very few people will want to meet up with you. Do you think this culture is misogynistic? He asked lightly. So in other words, he lets women know that he's just looking for fun to hang out. And your typical girl is going to think, oh, well, I'll change his mind. Well, that's on her. Okay? Goes on, sex has become so easy. I call it the dating apocalypse, says a woman in New York, aged 29. As the polarized caps melt and the Earth churns through the sixth extinction, another unprecedented phenomenon is taking place in the realm of sex. Hookup culture, which has been percolating for about 100 years, has collided with dating apps, which have acted like a wayward meteor on the now dinosaur-like rituals of courtship. We are in uncharted territory when it comes to Tinder, etc., says Justin Garcia, a research scientist at Indiana University's Kinsey Institute for Research of Sex, Gender, and Reproduction. There have been two major transitions in heterosexual mating in the last 4 million years, he says. The first was around 10,000 to 15,000 years ago, in the agricultural revolution, when we became less migratory and more settled, leading to the establishment of marriage as a cultural contract. And the second major transition is with the rise of the internet. People used to meet their partners through proximity, through family and friends, but now internet meeting is surprisingly every other form. That pretty much sums up the world. It's changing so much about the way we act both romantically and sexually, Garcia says. It is unprecedented from an evolutionary standpoint. As soon as people go online, they were using it as a way to find partners to date and have sex with. In the 90s, it was Craigslist and AOL chat rooms, then Match.com and Kiss.com. But the lengthy, heartfelt emails exchanged by the main characters in You've Got Mail, that movie from 20-some years ago, seem positively Victorian in comparison to the messages sent on the average dating app today. I'll get a text message that says, "Wanna F," says Jennifer, 22, a senior at Indiana University Southeast in New Albany. They'll tell you, "Come on over and sit on my face," she says a friend of hers, Ashley, 19. I'm sure plenty of young guys can vouch for a lot of this. Goes on, mobile dating went mainstream about 5 years ago. By 2012, it was overtaking online dating. In February, one study reported there were nearly 100 million people, perhaps 50 million on Tinder alone, using their phones as a sort of all-day, everyday, handheld singles club, where they might find a sex partner as easily as they find a cheap flight to Florida. It's like ordering Seamless, says Dan, the investment banker, referring to the online food delivery service, but you're ordering a person. Again, you can see here, long-term relationships going by when there's such an ease to literally get ass like ordering a pizza. But again, that's if you obviously play your cards right now. It's obviously way easier for women. But a lot of women complain about how guys don't want to get into serious relationships and all that stuff. But why do you think a lot of guys don't? Because of this, right? And it goes both ways. So who's participating in all this, right? You're going to see more as I go through this article, guys, is saying about who controls. Women have the keys to sex, but men have the keys to relationships. And at the end of the day, I don't care who it is, pretty much every single woman walking the planet here at some point, even if it takes her till her 40s or even 50s, is want to get into a serious relationship. Okay? And at the end of the day, who has that power? Who controls that? Remember that, guys. It says the comparison to online shopping seems an apt one. Dating apps are the free market economy come to sex. The innovation of Tinder was the swipe, the flick of a finger on a picture, no more elaborate profiles necessary, and no more fear of rejection. Users only know whether they've been approved, never when they've been discarded. OkCupid soon adopted the function. Hinge, which allows for more information about a match's circle of friends through Facebook, and Happening, which enables GPS tracking to show whether matches have recently crossed paths. They use it too. It's telling that swiping has been jocularly incorporated into advertisements from various products, a nod to the notion that online, the act of choosing consumer brands and sex partners has become interchangeable. It's instant gratification, says Jason, 26, a Brooklyn photographer, and a validation of your own attractiveness by just like swiping your thumb on an app. You see some pretty girl and you swipe. And it's like, oh, she thinks you're attractive too. So it's really addicting, and you just find yourself mindlessly doing it. Sex has become so easy, says John, 26, a marketing executive in New York. I can go on my phone right now, and no doubt I can find somebody I can have sex with this evening, probably before midnight. So, given all this, guys, why would young guys, or anybody for that matter, want to get into actually a long-term relationship? Now, eventually, guys will get sick and tired of this after a while. Believe it or not, there are plenty of eventually, that's enough of this. But still, the whole game has changed. It's amazing just over the course of a decade how things have gone. Or more like in the last 5 years. I mean, this article is 5 years old, but you see, this is how it is back then. Now look how it is today. And is this good for women? Since the emergence of flappers and moderns in the 1920s, the debate about what is lost and gained for women is casual sex has been raging, and is raging still, particularly among women. Some, like Atlantic writer Hannah Rosen, see hookup culture as a boon. The hookup culture is bound up with everything that's fabulous about being a young woman in 2012. The freedom, the confidence. But others lament the way the extreme callousness of sex in the age of Tinder leaves many women feeling devalued. It's rare for a woman of our generation to meet a man who treats her like a priority instead of an option, wrote Erica Gordon at the Gen Y website Elite Daily in 2014. Well, why is a guy going to treat him like a priority when he has unlimited options at his fingertips? Also the same way that women don't treat guys as priorities because they got unlimited options at their fingertips. Hence the world we have today. This is why I tell you guys, you never feel bad about ghosting a girl or breaking up with her or anything like that, because you know what? Guess what? They're going to do the same thing. Right? They're going to do the exact same thing. And not to mention women, you're at your average, a girl that's above average looks. Not hot, but just cute, not bad. Guaranteed by the time she's in her mid-20s has had countless encounters with good guys. Good guys have been good boyfriends to her, loyal and all that. She wasn't interested. She was interested in somebody else, more of the bad boys, riding the carousel, getting the top percentage guys. So never feel bad about, like I said, ghosting or just moving on or breaking up with whatever, because guess what? She's had plenty of opportunities to and would do that to you in a heartbeat, and you all know it. The article continues. It is the very abundance of options provided by online dating which may be making men less inclined to treat any particular woman as a priority, according to David Buss, a professor of psychology at the University of Texas at Austin, who specializes in the evolution of human sexuality. Apps like Tinder and OkCupid give people the impression that there are thousands or millions of potential mates out there. Buss says, one dimension of this is the impact it has on men's psychology. Where there is a surplus of women, or a perceived surplus of women, the whole mating system tends to shift towards short-term dating. Marriages become unstable, divorces increase. Does this not sound like today's world, guys? Men don't have to commit, so they pursue short-term mating strategy. Men are making that shift, and women are forced to go along with it in order to mate at all. Well, it goes both ways here, let's be honest here. Now hold on there for a minute. short-term mating strategies seem to work for plenty of women too. Some don't want to be in committed relationships either, particularly those in their 20s, who are focused on their education and launching careers. Ding, ding, ding. And riding the carousel. Alex, the Wall Streeter, is overly optimistic when he assures that every woman he sleeps with would turn the tables and date him seriously if she could. And yet his assumption may be a sign of the more sinister thing he references, the big fish swimming underneath the ice. For young women, the problem in navigating sexuality and relationships is still gender inequality. Here we go. Says Elizabeth Armstrong, a professor of sociology at the University of Michigan who specializes in sexuality and gender. She says, and this is according to her, young women complain that young men still have the power to decide when something is going to be serious and when something is not. What I tell you, she's admitting it. We hold the keys to relationships. Never forget that, guys. And like I said, I don't care who it is, eventually you can have the most carousel riding gal in her teens and 20s or 30s. Eventually, she's going to want to settle down. We hold the power. They can go, she's girlfriend material, she's hookup material. There's still a pervasive double standard. We need to puzzle out why women have made more strides in the public arena than in the private arena. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Goes on. The men in this town have a serious case of P-word affluenza. Says Amy Watanabe, 28, the fetching tattooed owner of Sake Bar Sasasco. I can't pronounce this thing. I'm not Japanese. A lively place in New York East Village. We've seen them come and go with more than one Tinder date in a night. The data underpinning a wide city study claiming millennials have fewer sexual partners than previous generation proves to be open to interpretation. Incidentally, the study published in May in the Archives of Sexual Behavior became a talking point for its surprising conclusion that millennials are having sex with fewer people than Generation Xers and baby boomers at the same age. I don't buy that for a second. Right here. I mean, if they're talking about overall, maybe. Obviously, a certain percentage of guys are going to be more beneficial to things like Tinder and all that compared to the rest. We all know that. But still, I just don't buy that. I would say more of the girls are doing more hooking up than the guys. We can definitely agree there. It says, when I asked Gene Twenge and Ryan Sherman, two of the study's authors, about their methodology, they said their analysis was based partly on projections derived from a statistical model, not entirely from direct side-by-side comparisons of numbers of sex partners reported by respondents. All data and all studies are open to interpretation. That's just the nature of the research. It goes on a steamy night at Satsko, everybody is Tindering, or OkCupiding, or happening, or hinging. The tables are filled with young women and men drinking sake and beer and intermittently checking their phones and swiping. Ah, look at this, says Kelly, 26, who's sitting at the table with friends, holding up a message she received from a guy on OkCupid. And the guy says, and this is her reading the text, the guy had said to her, I want to have you on all fours, it says, going on to propose a graphic scene. I've never met this person, says Kelly. At a table in the front, 6 young women have met up for an after-work drink. They're seniors from Boston College, all in New York for summer internships, ranging from work in medical research lab to luxury department store. They're attractive and fashionable, with bright eyes highlighted with dark eye-lining wings. None of them are in relationships, they say. I asked them how they're finding New York dating. None in relationships. What I tell you. They say, these gals, New York guys, from our experience, they're not really looking for girlfriends, says the blonde named Reese. They're just looking for a hit and quit on Tinder. People said really creepy shit on it, says Jane, the serious one. They start out with send me nude, says Reese, or they say something like, I'm looking for something quick within the next 10 or 20 minutes. Are you available? Okay, you're a mile away. Tell me your location. It's straight efficiency. I think that iPhones and dating apps have really changed the way that dating happens for our generation, says Stephanie, the one with an arm full of bracelets. Well, that's not dating. That's just pure hookup. There is no dating. There's no relationship, says Amanda, the tall, elegant one. They're rare. You can have a fling that could last 7 to 8 months, and you can never actually call someone your boyfriend. Hooking up is a lot easier. No one gets hurt. Well, not on the surface. They give a wary laugh. See, guys, what am I telling you about the say bye-bye to long-term relationships? And this was 5 years ago. They tell me how at their school An adjunct instructor in philosophy, Carrie Cronin, teaches a freshman class in which an optimal assignment is going out on an actual date. And meet them sober and not just when you're both like blackout drunk, says Jane. Like, get to know someone before you start something with them, and I know that's scary. Imagine that. You get so used to the hookups and the Tinder and all that, it's like, what? Go out on a date? When you're sober? Are you kidding me? Have a meal? Have an actual conversation? They say they think that with their own anxiety about intimacy comes from having grown up on social media. Ding, ding, ding. So we don't know how to talk to each other face to face. You form your first impression based off Facebook rather than forming a connection with someone. So you're like forming your connection with their profile, says Stephanie, smiling grimly at the absurdity of it all. When it comes to hooking up, they say it's not just as simple as just having you-know-what. It's such a game, and you don't always have to be doing everything right. And if not, you risk losing whoever you're hooking up with, says Fallon, the soft-spoken one. By doing everything right, she means not texting back too soon, never double texting, liking the right amount of his stuff on social media. See, guys? Right there. Not responding to his texts too quickly, never seeming too eager, never liking too much on social media. They do the same thing that guys do. I tell you guys, take your time to respond, okay? Don't like too much social media. All this other stuff, I tell you guys, they do it too. And it's a stupid bullshit game, but unfortunately, it is what it is. So for you guys that do dating and pickup in today's world, these are things to bear in mind. It goes on. And it reaches a point, says Jane, where if you receive a text or message from a guy, you forward the message to like 7 different people. What do I say back? Oh my God, he just texted me. It becomes a surprise. He texted me, which is really sad. It is sad, Amanda says, that 1 a.m. text becomes, oh my God, he texted me. No, he texted you at 1 a.m. It's meaningless. They laugh ruefully. If he texts you before midnight, he actually likes you as a person. If it's after midnight, it's just for your body, says Amanda. It's not, she says, that women don't want to have sex. Who doesn't want to have sex? But it feels bad when they're like, see ya. Well, it goes both ways. Again, how many guys have been out with a gal they liked and just, they hooked up, she never contacted him again. See ya. It goes both ways. Like I said, relationships, bye-bye. It seems like the girls don't have any control over the situation, and it should not be like that at all, Fallon says. That's the professor who's not happy about this. She's obviously an effeminist. It's a contest to see who cares less, and guys win a lot at caring less, Amanda says. Pay attention to that. And, it's the old saying about relationships. Whoever cares less has the power in the relationship. It really is true. I know it sounds harsh, and it sounds especially harsh if it's supposed to be someone that you actually care about in a relationship, but the reality is, whoever cares less has the power. I'm sorry, but it's the ugly truth. Well, I'm not sorry, but knee-jerk reaction saying that, but you know what I mean, guys. She says your sex should stem from emotional intimacy, and it's the kind of the opposite with us right now. And I think it's really kind of destroying the female self-image, says Fallon. It's body first, personality second, says Stephanie. Well, duh, guys are visual creatures. Of course it's going to be bodies first, and all women know this. Why do you think they go to such great trouble before dates to try multiple outfits, if they go on dates? Multiple outfits, their makeup, all that, because they know. Be visually enticing, and you're going to get the guy. Honestly, I feel like the body doesn't even matter to them as long as you're willing, says Reese. It's that bad. Well, jokingly, I can say that, pretty much if a girl is under 200 pounds, under 180 pounds, and has taken a shower that day, a guy's going to sleep with her. But that's an exaggeration, okay? Because guys, many guys will hook up with women as long as nobody else knows they're doing it, because they obviously want to get some. But there's got to be some level of attraction going on here. Article goes on, and this goes lots of different scenarios here, guys, just to make the point of this. Another part of this is on another busy night at the same bar, at the same table, in the front, 3 good-looking guys are having beers. They are John, Nick, and Brian, 26, 25, and 25. John is the marketing executive mentioned above, Nick works in the fitness industry, and Brian is an educator. When asked about their experience with dating apps, their assessment is quite different from the interns from Boston College. Works for me, Nick says. I hooked up with 3 girls, thanks to the internet, off of Tinder, in the course of 4 nights, and I spent a total of $80 on all 3 girls. Nick relays proudly. He goes on to describe each date, one of which, he says, began with a young woman asking him on Tinder to come over and smoke something and watch a movie. I know what that means, he says, grinning. We talk for a total of about 10 to 15 minutes, he says. We hook up afterward, and afterwards she goes. Oh my God, I swear, I wasn't going to have you-know-what with you. And I was like, well, you did a pretty shitty job at that one. They all say that, the guys say chuckling. Again, these are different guys. You know, you got the Wall Street guys, and you got the other guys here, you got the girls, all saying pretty much the same thing. That's what's cool about this article. Nick, with his lumber sexual beard and his hipster clothes as if plucked from the wardrobe of closet of girls, is physically speaking a modern male ideal. He fulfills none of the requirements identified by evolutionary psychologists as what women supposedly look for in its mates. He's neither rich nor tall. He also lives with his mom. Doesn't seem to have any effect on his ability to rampantly get laid. In his iPhone, he has at least more than 40 girls he has had relations with, rated 1 to 5 stars. It empowers them, he jokes. It is a mix of how good they are in bed and how attractive they are. They laugh. You know, going over this article, I could just see your average effinist that hates me, or just your average effinist, just losing their mind over an article like this, but this is today's world. He says, I'm on Tinder, Happening, Hinge, OkCupid, Nick says. It's just a numbers game. Before I could go out to a bar and talk to a girl, but now I sit at home on Tinder and talk to 15 girls. Without spending any money, John chimes in. Neither Nick nor John has a girlfriend in the last few years. Well, why would they? Think about it. Brian had one until recently, but confesses, I cheated. She found out by looking at my phone. Rookie mistake. Not deleting everything. Some guys, they say, in order to hide their multiple sex partners from each other, will assign them fake names in their phones, such as Crazy Mike. When it's so easy, when it's so available to you, Brian says intently, you can meet anybody and F them in 20 minutes. It's very hard to contain yourself. I've got numbers on Tinder just by sending emojis, says John, without actually having a conversation. Having a conversation via emojis. I guarantee a lot of these guys get to the point they just have like as a game to see what little I can do to actually get a girl to come over and hook up with me. He holds up his phone with its cracked screen to show a Tinder conversation between him and a young woman who provided her number after he offered a series of emojis, including the ones for pizza and beer. Now, is that the kind of woman I potentially want to marry, he asks? Probably not. Ding, ding, ding. See? I ask if they're aware of the double standard that's often applied to women when it comes to you-know-what. The double standard is real, Nick says. If I'm a guy and I'm going out and effing a different girl every night, my friends are going to give me high fives and we're going to crack a beer and talk about it. Girls do the same thing, but they get judged. I don't want to be like that, but sometimes the world is the way it is, and I can't change it, so just embrace it. You're not going to change human nature, guys. Okay, people try to all the time. They want to change the way things go, but at the end of the day, nature is nature. It may not be pretty, it may be the ugly truth, but it is what it is. They all say they don't want to be in relationships. I don't want one, says Nick. I don't want to have to deal with all that stuff. You can't be selfish. You can't be selfish in a relationship, Brian says. It feels good just to do what I want. I asked him if it ever feels like they lack a deeper connection with someone. There's a small silence. After a moment, John says, I think at some point it does. But that's assuming that's something that I want, which I don't, Nick says in a trifled annoyance. Does that mean that my life is lacking something? I'm perfectly happy. I have a good time. I go to work. I'm busy. And when I'm not, I go out with friends. Or you meet someone on Tinder, offers John. Exactly, Nick says. Tinder is fast and easy. Boom, boom, boom. Swipe. And for these young guys, why would they do something else? Okay, now eventually, a lot of guys do get tired of this. They end up getting just tired of all this all the time. They want to focus more on their goals and ambitions, what I encourage you guys to do, instead of just constantly chasing ass or having ass come to you. Eventually, there's other things. And some guys get to the point to actually meet a good girl, and she's pretty cool, and they may just have a relationship with her. I'm not saying move in, and I'm certainly not saying get married, but some guys get to that point. Goes on. I'm going to skip this one part, guys, because this kind of goes. We're kind of getting pretty long here in the article, but I want to get to the main stuff. But it talks about women talking about F-boys, you know what those are, and just how they are in today's world. So I'm going to jump past a bunch of this, so bear with me. Now it's going to go into the morning after. We're going to jump way ahead here, but the perspective and how things are the morning after these hookups and all. It says, on a rainy morning at the University of Delaware, the young women who live in an off-campus house are gathering on their front porch for coffee. They've been joined by their sister squad. So the porch table is crammed with sorority girls in shorts and sundresses, all ponytails and smooth bare legs, all meeting up to discuss their Saturday night, which includes some hookups. One girl says, this kid went to sleep and woke up with the same hairstyle. How did that shit happen? Says Danielle, 21, the one with the Betty Boop voice. Rebecca, the blonde with the candy eyes, also mentioned above, hooked up with someone too. It was okay, she shrugs. Right after it was done, it was kind of like, She gives a little grunt of disappointment. As they talk, most are on their phones. Some are checking Tinder. I asked them why they use Tinder on a college campus where presumably there's an abundance of available guys. They say it's easier. Hear that? And a lot of guys won't talk to you if you're not invited to their fraternity parties. A lot of guys won't talk to you, period. They don't have to. Tinder has destroyed their game. Today's world, guys, nobody knows how to talk to each other. I'm on it nonstop, like 20 hours a day, says Courtney, the one who looks like a 70s movie star. 20 hours a day? So she only sleeps 4 hours? She wakes up in the middle of the night, grabs her phone, checks the Tinder. It's like fun to get the messages, Danielle says. If someone likes you, they think you're attractive. What I say about attention validation? It's a confidence booster, says Jessica, 21, the one who looks like a Swedish tennis player. I tell them how I heard from guys that swipe right on every picture in order to increase their chances of matching. No, they explode with laughter. Boys will do anything to get in it, says Rebecca, frowning. The rain comes down harder and they move inside the living room, which has a couch, a coffee table, and tie-dyed tapestries everywhere. The talk turns to sex again. One of them says, a lot of guys are lacking in that department, says Courtney with a sigh. What's a real orgasm like? I wouldn't know. They all laugh knowingly. I know how to give one myself, says Courtney. Yeah, but men don't know what to do, says Jessica, texting. Without a you-know-what, I can't have one, Courtney says. It's never happened with a guy. It's a huge problem. It is a problem, Jessica concurs. And I'm going to skip another part here, guys, because we're running out of time. And finally, this is going to go to the end of it, talking about people actually catching feelings. It says Michael Falatico, 29, is a bassist for Mono Gold, an indie band that has played in all the top Brooklyn venues and at festivals from Austin to Cannes. He's tall and slim and looks like a Renaissance painting of Jesus plus a nose ring. All of which means that in a certain corner of the world, Michael is a rock star, so he should have no trouble meeting women. Which he doesn't, but he still uses dating apps. I would consider myself an old school online dater. Michael says on a summer day in New York, I've been doing it since I was 21 years old. First, it was Craigslist. Casual encounters. Back then, it wasn't as easy. There were no pictures. You had to impress somebody with just what you wrote. So I met this girl on there who actually lived around the corner from me. And that led to 8 months of the best sex I ever had. We text each other as if we were available, hook up sometimes, sleep over, go our separate ways. Then she found a boyfriend. I was like, respect, I'm out. We still see each other in the street sometimes, give each other the wink. Now it's completely different because everyone is doing it, and it's not like this hot little secret anymore. Its profiles are like airbrushed with lightning and angles and girls who will send you pictures of their P words without even knowing your last name. I'm not saying I'm any better, I'm doing it. It's texting someone or multiple girls, maybe getting very S-word with them. 99% of the time, before you even met them, which more than I realize is effing weird. He grimaces. And it's just like waking up in our beds. I don't even remember getting there and having to get drunk to have a conversation with the person because we both know why we were there, but we have to get through these motions to get out of it. That's a personal struggle, I guess, but online dating makes it happen that much more. Whereas I would be sitting at home and playing guitar, now it's ba-ding, he makes a chirpy alert sound of a Tinder match. And he pauses as if disgusted, I'm effing. So guys, there you go. That is, I skipped over a bunch of parts because this is, like I said, it was a really long article, but it really shows through the different interviews from different types of guys and girls, all in the 20s, what that world was like in 2016. But we know how it's extended into the world now, 2021. Now, obviously, things have been impacted because of COVID, but once we get past this shit, it's going to be like full-on Sodom and Gomorrah out there. Okay, but this goes to show you, basically, like I said, relationships are pretty much going bye-bye. Long-term relationships, at least, especially in the 20-something crowd. So, for you guys out there that obviously are taking care of yourselves, doing well for yourself, you know, working out in the gym, keeping your bodies healthy, looking good, dressing well. if this is what you want, you're going to have it made, okay? And like I said before in the beginning, like long-term relationships, they're going bye-bye. And at the end of the day, men have the keys to relationships. And all these gals have been growing up with this, the ones they talk about in this article, at some point, no matter how much of the carousel they're riding, at some point, they're going to want to settle down. They're going to want at least to have at least one guy propose to them and get married to. Even though it may not work out statistically, they still want at least to have relationships. That's where guys have the control and guys have the power. So it is in our interest. We're going to make it out in the end. I'm just trying to make that clear. And there was another point I wanted to make, but it completely just went out there. I've been reading for 30 minutes, so I can't quite remember at this point. But anyhow, guys, that was a very interesting article to go through and show you just the state of how things are. And I can begin to imagine how things are going to be in 10 more years when newer technology comes around to just make things even crazier. But anyhow, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.